makers, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Lauren. I am the artist and quilter behind Garden Girl Studio, and this is a tutorial that is part of our Jolly in July stitching series that I'm teaming up with Stacy from Stacy Creates Stuff throughout the month of July to bring you a whole month of crafting tutorials. And today is embroidery day, so we're going to be working on an embroidery project. We are going to be making a corner bookmark using stick and stitch stickers. These are peel and stick stickers that wash away in water. So we can use them to stitch through and then they'll wash away and dissolve when we're all done. So to get started, you're gonna need a piece of felt. This is a 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch felt square. This happens to be wool felt, so I did pre-shrink it. If you are using wool felt, then I'm gonna highly recommend that you pre-shrink it because we are gonna have to submerge this in water, and well, we know that wool doesn't always behave in water. If you're not sure how to pre-shrink your wool, I did do an experiment with this a few weeks back. I will drop a link to that video in the description below so that you can prep your wool ahead of time. If you're just using standard crafting felt, you'll be totally fine. You just need a 3.5 inch square by a 3.5 inch square. So let's jump right in and get started. We're gonna have to cut this square into 2 triangles. So let's tackle it. Okay, so you can see here we have our 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch square. I have pre-shrunk this. I'm just going to very simply take my ruler and I'm going to align it from corner to corner so that I have 2 halves of my triangle, and I'm going to use my rotary cutter to just cut it in half. Okay, and these 2 halves should match so that you have a front side of your bookmark and a back side of your bookmark. Beautiful. So we only need one of these to get started. What we're going to do is we are going to pick a stick and stitch sticker to use on this project. This is my Snowy Days stick and stitch pack. You can find this pack of stickers on my website, or you can download it for free on my website if you want to print them yourselves. But the pre-printed ones are available in my online shop. I will link that in the description below. If you prefer to print out your stick and stitch stickers yourself using water-soluble paper, I'll link where you can download this pattern template in the description below as well. So what we need to do is pick out which sticker we want to use for our bookmark. And we only have 3.5 by 3.5 by the hypotenuse of this triangle. So I'm probably gonna go with one of the smaller designs. And I think for today's project, a snowflake would be really, really cute. So I think we're just gonna take a simple snowflake and we're going to use it on our pattern. So as you're choosing your pattern, you're going to want to leave about 1/4 inch along the top and along the side of your triangle as you're stitching. So you don't want your pattern to go, say, off the edges. We can't choose anything, you know, too big. I could theoretically cut this pattern and make it a little bit smaller and just use part of it, but you do want to keep about 1/4 inch from the edge available on both sides because we're gonna have to actually stitch these 2 triangles together at the end of this project to finish off our bookmark. So we wanna leave that space available. And I think I'm using this navy blue, would be really pretty as a winter night sky. So I think we're gonna do snowflakes and maybe some other little snowflakes and doodads around it. So this is the sticker we're going to use. Because it's going off the edges of my triangle, I am gonna trim it up a little bit. Perfect. So we only need one of our triangles. And I'm gonna place our snowflake right in the center. Super cute. You won't need a hoop for this. Our felt's gonna be thick enough that it's going to be strong enough to support our stick and stitch sticker. And this water-soluble paper sticker also acts as a stabilizer. So if you feel like you're starting to bend and pull your felt, then you can use a hoop, but I'm not planning to for this project because we really shouldn't need it. We should be good to go. Okay, so I peeled off the back of my sticker. If you're having trouble unsticking your sticker, you can use your needle to score the back of it, and then you're gonna peel off the sticker backing. Then you're gonna place your sticker wherever you'd like it on your project. I think this is super cute. And I'm gonna use a white, and I believe this is actually called Snow White. It's B5200 DMC floss, and I'm gonna use 3 strands. Okay, so I wanted to mention that this felt that I have here is nice wool felt. It's from Benzie. If you're interested in looking at all of their beautiful colors, they have gorgeous felt colors. I will link it in the description below. It's a blended wool felt, so it's not 100% wool, but it does have some wool in it. What's nice about stick and stitch patterns is you can stitch them any way you want. Personally, for this project, I'm gonna be using a series of French knots, a split stitch, and straight stitches. So if you want a French knot tutorial, I will be sure to link it in the description below. I'm starting right on the end here with one of the French knots. There we go. And then I'm just gonna start split stitching all the way across to the other end of my snowflake. Beautiful. That's our first line, and we do have another French knot on this side, so we're going to put in our French knot. Okay, now I'm going to work my way back down, just adding straight stitches right along that main vein of that snowflake. Beautiful. Until you get to the other side. You're just going to keep adding these straight stitches right along the lines that are in the pattern. Okay, and while I'm here, so I don't have a huge jump stitch, I'm actually just going to split stitch up this side angle here. You can jump around to wherever you need to work on your project. You don't have to go in order. So I am just going to start working on this side angle, and then I'm just going to work through it. Okay, perfect. So the rest of this project is going to match what we've already done. So these main spokes are all going to be split stitches with straight stitches coming out the sides, and they are going to have French knots on the end. And of course, we're going to fill in our straight stitches on this spoke as well. And then these diagonal spokes are going to be just a couple of split stitches with a few French knots. So go on ahead and continue filling in your project and meet me back here, and we'll talk about what we got to do next. Okay. Finish stitching up our snowflake. I am going to add a couple star stitches to either side and some white French knots throughout, just to kind of make it look a little bit extra snowy. If you want a tutorial for this star stitch, I will link that in the description below as well. But basically, you're just going to be making, you know, a series of spokes. So I'm just going to go just a nice long straight stitch. I'm going to cross it over, just kind of like the snowflake we just made. Remember being mindful to keep about 1/4 of an inch or so from the edge free, so we don't want to get too close. Okay, then I'm going to come back to center. Because this is metallic thread, I'm using DMC Diamond Grande. This is one of their silver colors. It's G168 if you want to use the same thread. It's really pretty. I am going to come back to the center a little bit because it's going to help hold these stitches a little bit tighter. There we go. Again, we'll pull that a little bit taut. And these diagonals here. Perfect. And that's a star stitch. I'm going to add 1 or 2 to the other side as well. And then we'll just add some French knots. There we go. Okay, so that's our star stitch. I'm going to add another one to this side as well. And then I'm going to just start adding some French knots throughout to make it look nice and snowy. Okay, and my goal for these French knots is to add like 3 to either side. So we'll see how that pans out. We'll see how this goes. And if French knots are not your jam, don't worry about it. You don't have to add them. You could add more star stitches. You can add just little dashes, little like straight stitches around. I just want to kind of give this just a little bit more color and pizzazz. And if you are doing travel stitches, just be careful not to pull too tight because then the felt will start to buckle and you don't want that. So I'm just keeping mine a little bit looser. We are ready now to... I'm just going to knot this off, but then we need to rinse out our water-soluble sticker. So I'm going to get a bowl of cold water. The reason why I'm getting cold water, I mean, it's not going to be icy cold, but it's not going to be hot water either. Usually the instructions for this water-soluble paper are to rinse in warm water. But because we are using wool and I don't want it to shrink or warp anymore, I like to use just cool water, room temperature water. So I'm going to get a bowl of that. We're going to submerge it and start to let this sticker dissolve. So let's start to dissolve our sticker. We're just going to place it right in the water. Usually with warm water, it'll start to dissolve on its own. And it looks like this one is too. You can already see it starting to work through. You can also agitate or work it, just rub with your fingers essentially to help speed the process up a little bit. You can see it's already starting to break up. But this will take a couple minutes and then we'll return once our sticker is fully dissolved. The stick and stitch sticker totally dissolved. It's good to go. What I want to do is I basically need to let this dry before we can work on the next step of our project. Luckily, it's July, so it's a beautiful sunny day outside, so I'm gonna let it dry out in the sun, so that should be pretty quick. I don't wanna put this in my dryer, because again, I don't want it to shrink. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna give this one last rinse under my kitchen sink, like my faucet, just under cold running water, just because this bowl of water has some, has the remnants of the sticky sticker. So if there's anything, I just want one clean rinse to just get out anything remaining. If there's anything involved, it feels pretty good, but I just like giving it one last rinse. I'm gonna let it sit out in the sun and then we will reconvene here to finish off our bookmark. Okay, our project is dry and it came out great. So now we need to finish off these two edges of our project. The goal is going to make it so that we will have this on the corner of whatever book we are using. So we have to keep this edge stitch free, but these two we are going to stitch down. I am personally going to be using more metallic thread because I like a little extra glitz and glamour on my projects, but you could use white DMC floss if you don't want to use a metallic. You can also use navy or whatever color to match the background of your felt if you don't want the binding to show up. And there are a number of stitches that we can use to finish off these two edges. You could bring this over to your sewing machine and you could just do a simple straight stitch. You could do a decorative stitch if you want just a quick and easy project. You could also do a blanket stitch, embroidery stitch by hand. I'm personally going to choose one of the easier options and just do a whip stitch. To get started, you're going to align your two layers together so that you are creating a sleeve. Then you're going to take your needle, if you're doing this by hand and you're doing whip stitch just like me, and you're going to go between the two layers and you're going to bring your needle up through to the top layer. This way, if you have a little knot on your floss, it's going to be tucked onto the inside there. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is you are going to come through the back piece of felt around the same side and back up through the middle again. This is just to get us started so that we can start stitching. Okay, so that's just going to give us a nice little anchor stitch to get started. Now you're going to come up through the top layer about 1/4 inch away, about there. So we want to be 1/4 inch from the edge and about 1/4 inch from our previous stitch. And just come up through the top. And now we should just be able to work through our whip stitch. And to do a whip stitch, you're just going to come through the back side and then back up to the front again. And you're just going to slowly guide that metallic. Sometimes it's going to try to be at an odd angle. Guide it so that each of your stitches is parallel or close to parallel, okay? They're going to be perpendicular to the edge of your fabric, and they're going to be parallel to each other. I find that when I'm doing a whip stitch, I need to go nice and slow. If I go too fast, my stitches become uneven. They become kind of angled and all over the place. So I recommend slow and steady. We don't have far to go. So just take your time with this part of the project and yeah, just enjoy the stitching process. And then I'm going to meet you up at this corner here so that I can show you how to turn the corner with this stitch. Okay, to turn the corner, what you're going to do is you're going to take a whip stitch and you're going to come up about 1/4 inch away from the corner of your project. Nice and slow so that our stitches are nice and even. And with the metallic, you might have to kind of guide it a little bit more than you would, say, DMC floss. And then what you're going to do is I'm going to recommend coming around again, going back in almost the same hole, but not quite. You're going to come up right next to where that stitch is. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to turn our triangle and we're going to come up again through just that 1/2 in the back. So you're going to come up through just the one layer, the back layer. just to anchor this stitch in place. Okay, so get that secure, and then once that's secure, you can go ahead and bring your stitch up 1 stitch length away on the front piece of felt. So now we're working through the middle and we're just coming up 1 away. But I like getting that corner anchored first. And now you're going to continue with your whip stitch all the way to the end of your project. I'm going to meet you in this corner to show you how to anchor it off. Once you get close to the end here, you're going to go ahead, I'm going to take 1 more stitch. So then I'm not too far from the edge, just over. I'm going to come back through the back side again, so that now, again, my needle is between the 2 layers, okay? When you're ready for it to be your last stitch. Okay, get it so that it's looking nice, okay? And then we're gonna knot off on the inside. In order to do that, what you're gonna do is you are going to make a loop with your thread or floss, okay? And you are going to, I'm gonna kind of peel up the corner a little bit. You're gonna take your needle, place it through that loop that you just made, okay? So my needle is through the loop. And then you're gonna place your needle tip right where you want your knot to be on your project, okay? Then you're gonna slowly take your strand and pull that string, and it's gonna make the knot come right down to the base of the fabric where you wanted it to be. Remove your needle, and usually I just kind of use my finger to hold that knot in place and just give it 1 last tug. And then you can go ahead and trim your tail. Okay. And now we have a super cute corner bookmark that we can use. I've got a little sketchbook here. You can use it for your drawings and sketches, or you can use it on a novel or book of your choice. But it's super cute, and it's going to be perfect for some cozy reading. We did it. We finished our corner bookmark. How cute is that? I am so excited to use this for some cozy winter stitching, and I hope you are too. Thank you again so much. Oh, hello. Miss Ellie wants to say hi. Hello, Miss Ellie. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much for staying tuned for this tutorial. Be sure to come on back tomorrow. Stacy from Stacy Creates Stuff, I have linked her channel below, is going to be back tomorrow for more Jolly in July projects. She's going to be making up a wooden ornament and showing us how to work with that. So that's going to be super exciting and fun. You're not going to want to miss it. So until next time, friends, happy stitching.